What's your sort of long-term play with Bitcoin?
But if I've got a massive bag of Bitcoin, like I can just borrow money against that. I don't have to sell that Bitcoin, even at 10, 15% interest. Who gives a shit?
The average Australian goes to work and they just think, if I just work my whole life, I'm going to have enough money in super. But they don't even look at the numbers.
I only need 100, 120K a year and I'll be fine. That's in today's dollars. 10 years when you retire, 120K is fucking nothing.
What's your opinion then, Ben, on diversification with any type of asset at the moment?
There's no way I'd buy an investment property now. The cost of running the investment property, the returns, the problems, all that, that was just stupid. People, they're going to start selling their properties. They're going to start selling their things. They're going to start selling their business. They're going to slow down investing in new things because why would you? That's going to be an interesting phase to go through. What's that going to do to projects, development, new this, new that? It's not how much is Bitcoin, it's how much Bitcoin do you have.
You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve, but you also only buy Bitcoin if you need to know about Bitcoin.
Like, stop looking at the price, stop looking for dips, stop waiting for peaks. It just doesn't matter. You need to be taking whatever you can and putting it across into this asset.
What sort of tricks have you found? Have you got some other things up your sleeve?
To get more Bitcoin,
I'm Matthew Fraser, and this is Crypto Collective. After making millions with Amazon and e-commerce, I realized that if I was starting again today, crypto would be my first choice. I'm here to help you take your first steps and build real wealth. Ready to set yourself up for life? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the Crypto Collective. My name is Matthew Fraser. And in this episode, I'm sitting down with Ben Vickers. He's a crypto superstar entrepreneur. We're going to dive deep into what he thinks about Bitcoin, property, and wealth generation.
I started in Bitcoin, so this is going back 2017.
It was pretty ballsy at the time because I know 2017 was an era where there was a lot of controversy. There was a lot of scams going on. So what gave you the confidence to buy into Bitcoin?
Look, I remember he's my brother-in-law now, but he was the one who was talking about it. And I won't say his name, but let's just say he was using Bitcoin on a platform called Silk Road.
Yes.
For certain things. And that's when I started to kind of look at it and go, well, what is this? And it's like, it's the nerd's money, it's the computer money. What gave me the confidence? Nothing really, but I thought, what's the harm in doing it, right? So what did I set up on? Coinbase. I think that was the only... Maybe it wasn't the only exchange, but it was the only one that I knew of.
Right.
And it was just easy to set up and start doing the transactions. So that's where that all started from there. So yeah, I just started kind of putting any spare cash or any money that wasn't required, particularly from the business because I had the job, just started putting it into those three cryptocurrencies.
Have you set it up with, so I have three different buckets, that's what I call it. I have a self-managed super fund, which, and I'm all in. Ben, I put all of my super
Same here.
into Bitcoin
Same
only.
Here. Yep.
Yeah. And then I've got a company bucket, and then I've also got a personal bucket. Do you set yours up similar?
So I went self-managed early 2021, and I put all of that into Bitcoin, which the wife, I didn't tell her till afterwards.
She said you were crazy.
I just didn't tell her. Until afterwards. She didn't need to know, right? And even back then, we didn't have these bank limitations as well. So I was actually able to move all of that over in a couple of transactions. When I went and told the wife and said, here's how much I had in superannuation. Now I've gone self-managed 12 months ago. Look at this to this. She was like, holy shit. So I said, now I want your super.
Oh, right. So you just put yours in.
Yeah. So we went through that process, and that's where we ran into the bank will only let us move 10K over.
Is that because it was just further down the line?
Yeah.
Like just sort of
because their new policy had come out saying you can't move more than 10K. I was like,
this is CommBank.
Yep. So, there's always a way around these things. It's usually problematic and it's a lot of administration, but I was like, this is freaking bullshit. I'm going to find a way around it. So I actually went and opened another superannuation account with NAB. That had some loopholes and whatever, but then you could actually literally take the money from the CommBank superannuation account, move it to the NAB superannuation account, and then into the exchange.
Yeah.
So even if that was just 10, NAB was allowing 50.
Yeah, or whatever your daily limit was for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually found ANZ to be the winner. I haven't had any issues there, and again, I've got in the company, I think I can go up to $1 million a day, right? So I can just transfer hundreds of thousands at a time in one foul swoop over the exchange, which is of course easy. A lot of people are finding problems though now. They've sort of really tightened down it. I think since the price went to sort of over 100K, it's sort of like everyone, as what happens is the price is really high. I think I'll buy it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone's rushing in. The banks are just like closing up. Macquarie's another one where I have a self-managed super fund account. Haven't had any problems, but then new people now are having problems. So
Yeah.
it seems that if you've got a track record already, you're good.
Yeah.
But if you're new, not good.
Yeah. And they want to keep the money in the system, right? Like even from a personal point of view, so that was the superannuation, got that solved. That did take 3 or 4 weeks. And I was like so furious because the action that had happened in those 3 or 4 weeks. In fact, I did put it out to all the news companies going, this is bullshit. And Sky News picked it up.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But got some airtime, nothing.
So I literally featured on Sky News.
Not me.
Oh, okay.
They picked up the story going, CommBank customer furious because he has to now tell the bank what he wants to do with his money. And
Yeah,
they were
which
saying,
now is just like, well, of course you have to tell them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course you have to tell them. Even under $10,000 now, even if you go and getting $4,000 out of the bank just as cash, it's like, you get a bazillion questions.
Yeah. So I got the super stuff sorted, but then I still had the personal problem, right? Because I was like, we're still putting my personal money into crypto. So I went and opened like 5 bank accounts, ING, NAB, HSBC, because now I can move whatever their limit is from each of those. So that solved that problem as well. ING, from my experience, been awesome. I've never had any issues with limits or frequency or anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So now that you've got this accumulation of Bitcoin, I got to ask you, have you ever sold any Bitcoin?
No.
Never sold a Bitcoin?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So my portfolio would be, 80% Bitcoin, 15% across Solana, XRP, Cardano, and the remaining 5.
So Solana, XRP's done well recently. Cardano's been average. Solana's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else was there?
So the remaining, was that 5% on that is the play stuff. And I'm playing in Doge, Shiba, pretty much anything.
Did you
could
buy
think
the
of.
Trump coin?
No.
Okay. You missed out.
Or the Milani coin or any of that. But, like my strategy is buy these things on the upside, then swap it into Bitcoin.
Right. Okay. And is that actually what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're waiting for the next cycle top? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking. And I don't mind, if XRP bumping up, take some, move it to Bitcoin, leave the pool there. That goes, okay, then move it over. So it's just kind of a rolling cycle.
So I'm always interested to know from people, what is their long-term play with something like Bitcoin? Because of course, people say, well, look, you can hold Bitcoin, but then what's the good of just holding it forever? You can't use it, or you're not going to use it if you don't say I'm going to sell it or what have you. So what's your sort of long-term play with Bitcoin?
Oh, look, I believe, and it's going to be coming soon. I think you can already do this in the States, right? But if I've got a massive bag of Bitcoin, like I can just borrow money against that. I don't have to sell that Bitcoin, even at 10, 15% interest. Who gives a shit? Because the net across what that goes up versus what that's costing. So I don't think that's kind of mainstream here at the moment, but it'll be coming at some point.
So that's the idea, is borrow against it?
Yeah, I'm not selling.
Okay, I can tell you that I've already experimented down this path. So there is companies in Australia that do it, and I've just for my own interest, put up some money, borrowed against it, and in fact, what I do is initially I put up $10,000 into this company in Australia. They'll lend up to 40% LVR on that. So they literally deposit the money back into your bank account. I then send the money back to the exchange, and then I buy more Bitcoin. Yeah, and the interest rate is 9.5%. Which I thought was like
Are they
cheap.
private lenders?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, mate.
yeah.
Need the hookup. Give me the links.
Yeah. I'll tell you. It's a company called Block Earner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they're based in Australia. They've been around for a little while, and I just sort of went in and started experimenting with their processes and what buttons to press. And it seems that most people, from what I hear, do that. They start off with a small sum, then it's like, okay, now I'll move over 100, or now I'll move over 1 million or something and borrow against that. The other thing too is they capitalize the interest, so there's no ongoing repayment. There are some other companies in Australia that do say you have to make an ongoing repayment. So it's basically at the end of a year, it's roughly $4,400, let's say, that you've got to now, you can just roll it over, providing that, of course, Bitcoin is up.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting though is that they say 40% LVR, but they allow you on their bandwidth to go up to sort of 50% LVR and still stay within the healthy range. So of course, with the fluctuations within the Bitcoin market. And then once it gets to 55%, they'll say, hey, can you please bring this back into line? And 60% they'll probably liquidate you and then give you
Yeah.
back the change. Yeah. So that's happening right now in Australia. And what I've actually realized, in order to manage the LVR, you take the 40%, you put it back into the exchange, you buy more Bitcoin, but then you also put that up as collateral as well, which then gives you that extra buffer. And then theoretically you could borrow against that again.
Yeah. So sailor kind of strategy, isn't it?
Well, except there's no shares involved. I'm
Yeah.
not selling off shares, but I'm trying to, like, all I do all day, every day, I don't know about you, but is think about how can I get more Bitcoin? Yeah. Is that your strategy? What sort of tricks have you found? Have you got some other things up your sleeve?
To get more Bitcoin? No. I mean, I would... Look, I've got two young kids, 10, 6, a risk-averse wife.
You've got them working.
Sometimes.
They're taking their money and buying Bitcoin.
Actually, well, yeah.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
I did buy them a Bitcoin back in 23, so they couldn't thank me for that later.
Okay.
But, yeah, like, if... And I'm still going to try and work through convincing her of this, but I would like to sell the property and take all the equity out of that and put that into Bitcoin and just go renting for the next 2 to 3 years. I sold an investment property in 21. Because if you think about it, like the cost of running the investment property, the returns, the problems, and all that, was just like, I had that property for 12 years and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was just stupid in hindsight now. Like, there's no way I'd buy an investment property now. No way in the world.
That's so interesting as saying that, because I've also moved down that line as well.
Yeah.
So do you still hold property? And if you had the situation again today, would you buy property or Bitcoin?
No, I would not buy property at all. It's a kind of a hard decision. Like, for any investment, if someone says, hey, I'm keen for you to be a partner in this business, we want 2 mil, you get 30% of the business, we're looking at 20% year on year. What's the point? It's not that it's not a bad idea, but it's like, well, what is the point when I've got all these options on the table? Where is going to be the best return? Where is going to be the low impact, low effort return? And it points to one thing.
Yeah.
So I do kind of think about the future on that front to go, well, hang on, maybe there is a bit of concern in terms of business investment and that type of thing, because where's the growth and development going to come from when investors are looking for return? They go, well, why open up the hotel? Why open up the restaurants when I can do that?
Yeah.
No staff, no systems, no problems, overhead, all this drama and shit. And it's like, I'll take that all day, every day.
I totally agree with you. I mean, so I've just sold, I also have a car collection, about 7 cars. And I've just sold 1 car recently, Bitcoin. Another one's up on the market. So I'm sort of slowly going through them. I don't really need these, I don't drive them that much. I do love them. The other thing, though, is I've just sold, it actually went unconditional on Friday, which was a commercial property not far from here, which still leaves me 2 more commercial properties. And all that now is going into Bitcoin as well. But I think, though, Ben, you've got to bring, you mentioned before about, you didn't tell your wife. I also have a wife, but I've also brought her along the journey. And I think for a lot of people, where a lot of the decisions are being made, particularly about super and, their generational wealth creation, you have to kind of bring them along, because the last thing I would want to do is sort of go home and say, babe, I've just sold all of our property portfolio, right? And it's gone into Bitcoin. I don't know if she would really be too upset, because she knows about Bitcoin now. But anyway, so I've sold this one. I've still got these other 2 remaining. And every day I'm thinking, why am I keeping these? Why am I keeping these?
Yeah.
Why am I keeping these? And my wife's like, I really think we should have just more diversification. Hey, just quickly, if you're ready to dive deeper into crypto and Bitcoin and build real wealth, join my free crypto collective community. It's where I share exclusive insights and strategies and live discussions to help you succeed, whether you're a beginner or scaling your portfolio. Click on the link in the description and join us today. Now back to the episode. What's your opinion then, Ben, on diversification with any type of asset at the moment?
So, apart from the house that we live in and own, real estate is out of the question. I wouldn't be doing that at all. I used to have quite a bit in the ASX, and over the last 18 months, I've been getting rid of that and putting it into Bitcoin. Just because I'm like, it all points to one area, you know what I mean?
Can I ask you though, because a lot of people would say, well, that's too risky, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. But would I be right in saying though that as you've been in since 2017, so as you sort of go down this Bitcoin journey, you just become more convinced, you read more books, you understand the space better. Would that be right?
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And it's like, I think some people, particularly when they come new to the space, my mates have said this so many times. I can just recall, and I repeat it back to them because they're like, oh shit, Bitcoin's at 67K. I'll wait till it dips back to 50. I'll wait, buy the dip, all this kind of crap. And then it goes obviously beyond there, and then they're like, oh shit, I missed that. And then maybe they buy in, and then it comes back, and then they go, shit, it's going to zero, and they sell, and they just get wrecked and burned. I've heard numerous horror stories, but my view, I don't look at the price at all. It's just like, it's not how much is Bitcoin, it's how much Bitcoin do you have. And I think it was Sailor who said it, and I love it because I say it to my friends now as well. I was like, you will be paying for Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Yes.
So when it is 500,000 and you start buying, then you deserve that.
How is Bitcoin around your friends? Do you mean, are you losing a lot of friends when you talk about Bitcoin?
No. I think, over the years, I've actually helped a lot of people see the light and get into it. I've sat with my friends and I've gone, give me your phone. Let's set up the CoinSpot account. This is what you do. This is how we do everything. And then they come back going, holy shit, I've just doubled money. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
You don't fucking sell it.
Yeah.
Because they sometimes they do.
Yeah.
I've literally, you prompted me on this before, like I've only not sold any Bitcoin, but I've only sold cryptocurrency once, and it was Pepe.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the only one I've ever sold. Everything else has been bought.
Just accumulated. Yeah. Do you get bored though with certain types of cryptos and think, you know what, this is not like XRP, for example? Surely there was a time during an XRP life cycle that you thought, this is not going to do anything.
Well, then, there was the whole legal case and things, and I was like, if they come through the back end of this, then that's going to be really good. And then we kind of got through that part of it and started to make some moves. I think XRP's got a fantastic use case. I think that it's going to do well. I don't like if it's not decentralized, I don't like it. Like someone runs XRP, there's board members, developers, so that always makes me really nervous. So like I said, my strategy would be like try and get these things that do have a good Solana and ETH and XRP that do have a good use case, that are good businesses, ride that upside wave and then convert across to BTC.
Yeah, interesting. And there's a lot of positive news coming out about, Solana. Trump coin came out on Solana.
Yep.
There's now talk, you may have heard that Eric Trump has, I don't know if he's announced the policy, but he let it slip anyway, that America will not charge, they're proposing, America will not charge capital gains tax on any crypto that's made in America, basically. So Solana's one of them, XRP, all these ones that you've got. I think Cardano and HBAR, and I think there was the Trump coin too, because it's from America as well.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be super, super bullish because everyone's going to now, of course, buy up those coins, particularly in the US. And US is obviously one of the places where most people have, was it like 60 million people have crypto in America.
Yeah, it's huge.
Hey, just quickly, if you're ready to dive deeper into crypto and Bitcoin and build real wealth, join my free crypto collective community. It's where I share exclusive insights and strategies and live discussions to help you succeed, whether you're a beginner or scaling your portfolio. Click on the link in the description and join us today. Now back to the episode. What's your opinion on what's happened in America with Trump and crypto?
I think it's fantastic. I personally love Trump because I think he's a business operator. Like he gets the basics of generating money, generating jobs, generating opportunity, and removing any obstacles in the way that limit people from do that. So I'm a big advocate of him. I think they get the fact that this whole change in the financial space is going to happen, whether they like it or not. People are moving into a new direction, and he's like, well, let's get at the forefront of it. Let's not be the follower of the other big countries. Let's get in the forefront of it and make it easier to do that. So I think it's awesome. Yeah, I'm just loving every day now. I'm just like glued to any app I can find that's just
Trump speeches, and not just even in the crypto space, it's like everything else that he's doing.
Yeah.
And it seems like America is now going to become the powerhouse that it should be.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super bullish this year, particularly on crypto, because everything that he said he was going to do. I mean, he's talked about the Bitcoin, the strategic reserve. He hasn't announced it per se, but he's certainly put a lot of things in place by talking about a crypto asset. When they call it a digital asset stockpile, was the term he used. They're going to start creating that, which I think leaves the door open for not just, hey, Bitcoin, but could be Solana, you know. So much positive news there on that space. What is your idea of the future for your sort of like wealth creation? And what I mean by that is, are you thinking about generational wealth when I talk about family? Yeah, talk about that.
So, well, I mean, how I kind of got to this point was, even though I was on amazing money, I was like, I'm not going to be able to earn myself into a comfortable retirement. I'm certainly not going to be able to save to an early retirement. And particularly when I was looking at my superannuation account and then kind of rolling that forward to 65, I was like, fuck, this is nowhere near going to be enough for any sort of mediocre retirement, let alone comfortable. And I don't think people are aware of that. And I do have some friends who are in their 60s and stuff, and I'm like, you're in trouble here. Like, and a lot of people will be in trouble. And the first thing that they do is go, well, where is the money? It's caught up in the house. So they sell the house, and then they've got to fucking move somewhere else into a 1-bedroom unit to free up the capital just to have some runway of cash to live on. So I was like, okay, if you make your money, then you need your money to make money. And that is the path to freedom, really, is to find that compounding platform or product that's gonna get you there. So that's, I mean, my first stock that I bought was, I think it was 2014, a company called FBR, Australian company. They do 3D printed houses.
Okay.
Put a couple grand into that. I looked back 6 months later, it was at 4. I looked back 6 months later, it was at 10. And I was like, oh, is it that easy? And that's when I started to really go down that path of like investing, finding companies to invest in.
But is that because you thought you were thinking about retirement?
I was thinking about making money.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing was, when you start making money, it's like, well, hang on a sec, we're going to get to a house deposit way quicker than me trying to save $200 a week out of the pay. Like, it's just not going to get you there.
Yeah.
So finding those avenues and vehicles of getting money to rapidly grow, and that's when Bitcoin popped up. And it was a very different stage because it was like this new thing. It didn't have any kind of awareness or structure to it. So it was almost very risky, but I kind of thought, hang on, this makes sense. Like, longer term, and as this evolves and everything else evolves, this is probably going to solve a lot of problems for the world, which is not run by the CEO of Xero or the board directors of Xero, and everything's dependent on how they operate the company and who works in it, whereas this is not. So that's when I started to kind of put a bit more into that. Generational wealth, that's what it is. Like, haven't come from money. Wasn't the easiest childhood. I went to 27 schools. I left home at 15, started working full time at 15. So I was like, it's on me to make it work.
Yeah.
And I certainly was thinking about the future and my kids' future, and I wanted that to be much different to what it had been in the past.
Yeah. What I've found is that, because I think about this all the time, is now, I guess, being in my mid-40s is retirement. I think I've got essentially 20 years, and I've got some friends who are similar age to myself, and I've looked at their super, and I literally said to a guy the other day, I said, Jamie, you're fucked. You have to do something, okay? And because I asked myself, why are these people not interested in making money or retirement? And I think it's because the average Australian goes to work, and they just think that if I just work my whole life, I'm going to have enough money in the super. That's it. They don't even look at the numbers, right? And even on like the Today Show, they now pop up numbers, right? And it's so depressing. They'll say something like, if you could just retire on like $300,000 a year, but that's okay because you'll be subsidised with a pension, right? I'm thinking, no, that's not the goal. The goal is not to retire on the pension or even part pension. The goal is to retire with as much money as possible to live a comfortable life. And they're now saying that a comfortable life, Ben, is one holiday, this is in retirement, you're going on lots of holidays, but one holiday every 7 years. That's what you are to expect on the average super in retirement, and you maybe go out for dinner once a month. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely pathetic. But I'm trying to now convince people, and I don't even know why I even try to convince people, because I mean, it's no skin off my teeth, right?
Yeah.
And you can only help so much. You can only lead so many people to the water. It's like, look, you're going to be screwed. Okay, you're going to have to do something, and at this point in time, Bitcoin is the answer. Have you had similar sort of stories with other people with their super? You mentioned one before.
Yeah. And I think they kind of look at only need 100, 120K a year and I'll be fine. It's like, that's in today's dollars. In 10 years when you retire, 120K is fucking nothing.
Yeah.
It's already happening at that rapid rate. So I think you're right. I think they're not looking at the numbers. They're not looking at what it will cost in the future. They're just comparing it to what it does now. And they're going to be in for a huge shock, a huge, huge shock. And it's saddening. And that's probably why we are trying to help them, right? Because it's like, I don't want to see some of my good friends or whatever hit that 60, retire, and then go, I'm
Oh,
fucked.
shit.
Yeah. Because now you're in recovery mode. You're in the...
Or you have to keep working.
Yeah. And you see them. They're back. You go to Bunnings, you see a 79-year-old there walking around. You're like, what are you doing here? It's like, well, I tried to retire. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now I'm here getting paid a shit wage. The government's taking half of it. And a big eye-opener for me, I did some volunteering probably about 2015 for Meals on Wheels. And that's where you go and drop off food to the elderly. And I was just like, fuck, this is sad. It was really, really sad. And that's when I started just to pay attention to the numbers. And it's like looking at where that super was going to land. The pension, forget about it. Like, it's not going to... That's why the oldies are like turning their aircon off on a hot day. They're like trying to save a couple dollars.
And it may not even be around in 20 years.
Yeah, that's it. Could be completely gone, right? So, I just started to look at that and go, well, it's not even about maintaining your quality of life once you retire. Sure, that would be enough, but don't you want a bit more?
A holiday more than once every 7 years, maybe, in your retirement?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, it's totally crazy.
Yeah. Don't you want to see, have the ability to, make decisions, the ability to put your kids into property? You see what they're doing now. The boomers are financing their kids into their property. So now they're leveraging up their mortgage debt or selling and downsizing to help them out. And it's like, you're just taking on more loans and more debt over a longer period of time at higher interest rates, which means they're going to have to earn more, which means they're stuck in the job. Yeah. So it's pretty depressing once you start to think about it.
Now, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
What about with like material possessions, right? I'm guessing you're not driven by material possessions.
I live a pretty simple life.
Do you want to get simpler though? As you get older, do you think I want to get rid of more things? Because you said you want to get rid of the properties and then sort of come back to the sort of central zen in a way.
Yeah, I think my home, that's where I live. It's where my kids. So I want that to be safe, secure, nice and comfortable. But I don't need a mansion on the waterfront. I don't have any desire for that. I would rather have the comfort and the peace of mind knowing, I guess, that I could if I wanted to, or if we want to go traveling, we can go tomorrow. If we want to stay there, we can. It's just having that peace of mind and that comfort. I'm not excessive with anything. I'd prefer the simplicity and the peace of mind more than splashing. If I'm going to splash, it'll be on those holidays and those experiences.
More like experiences.
Yeah, 100%. Because it was one of the reasons I left that big corporate job, right? And that was a scary moment because I was like, all of a sudden that peace of mind, that security, the big income check is now gone. So how are you going to replace that? But one of the things I saw just before I resigned was a couple of charts on time spent with your wife, your kids, your friends, your family. And by the time your kid hits 12 years old, you've spent 75% of the time with them that you will. By the time they hit 18, it's at 90%. So I'm in that sweet spot with my kids now where they're home every night. We eat together. I take them to school. I pick them up from school. They come home. They hug me. They love me. They want to hang out. But as soon as he hits 12, I'm going to my friend's house for the weekend. I'm having a sleepover at Bob's. And then all of a sudden they just keep drifting further and further away. So I was like, now's my time. I can do big corporate jobs down the track if I want to, but now is the critical point to have that relationship and that freedom and embed this family time. So whatever it takes, I can do that.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast. It was actually Shamath and Tucker. This was like 2 days ago, and he used to be in Facebook, and then he went off and did his own thing. The Sri Lankan looking guy.
Yep.
And he said, I had all this money. Like, I mean, he's probably got like a truckload. Like, it'd be hundreds of millions, right?
Yeah.
And I was buying the Rolex watches and this, that, and the other, because I thought that's what I had to do. And I never had that. And he comes from like immigrant family that had basically nothing. And he said, but the more I got, it wasn't feeling a void. I didn't feel happier because I was accumulating all these material possessions, right? And those types of conversations always get me thinking, I'm thinking, am I happy? Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm sad, but I also think maybe I need to downsize more. Maybe I need to get rid of more cars. Do I really need these cars? Because when you start accumulating all those sort of things, that's why I look at other people who have like massive car collections. You actually need someone in your family office that manages the car collections. Because what you don't know, unless you've got a car collection, is now you've got maintenance on all of them. Then you've got registration. Then you've got to get the green slip and the whatever slips. You know what I mean? And it's just this constant thing of like taking up your time.
Yeah.
And so it's got to the point for me, I didn't even take them out now. It's like, it's too much hassle. Then I've got to get them serviced more often. Then I've got to get the green slips and the blue, whatever the slip, you know what I mean? I just want them out now. So now I'm like, no, that's gone. I suffer from collections, like vinyl collections, CD collections.
Yeah.
Just not because I want to collect them, I just happen to accumulate them. And then I think, do I really need these things? And so I always now bring it back to maybe if I just got rid of everything and just had Bitcoin. Isn't that weird? It's like this religion now, you know? Do you feel the same like with Bitcoin?
Yeah. And to your point, like I just want time. So if anything's consuming my time, that is what I deem to be invaluable. That's what I'm trying to get rid of.
Right.
And like the investment properties were a big one because it's like the agency, then there's a maintenance schedule, then it's got to be listed again. It was just all this crap and energy put into it, and the return was just like it's not there. So where can I get? And how much time does Bitcoin take? It doesn't. You bang, do it.
It takes up a lot of mental time. Not so much physical time. It takes up mental time because I'm always thinking about how can I get more.
Yeah.
And I spoke to someone the other day who's a multi-millionaire. He said, I think the same thing. And it's funny because even, Michael Saylor, who now has something in the vicinity of over 400,000 Bitcoin, he also thinks the same thing, right? So it seems that no matter where you get to in your accumulation of Bitcoin, you're always thinking, I think I need more Bitcoin. And how do I get more Bitcoin? Yeah.
So I think, how's that going to roll out as people start to understand and get on board? Because they're going to start selling their properties. They're going to start selling their things. They're going to start selling their business. They're going to slow down investing in new things because why would you? So that's going to be an interesting phase to go through. You imagine like people selling their house now, like who has had that house for 10, 20 years, who may have thought about this Bitcoin or something, who just got $1 million in the bank and they're going to go and buy another place or whatever. They might be thinking, well, what do I do with this? So do you know what I mean? Like they're going to start putting their money in different areas. So what's that going to do to projects, development, new this, new that?
I think...
Is it going to slow down for a bit?
I think there will always be a place, obviously, for housing because people want to live somewhere. They want to buy commercial, have commercial buildings to have a business and what have you. But I think there's always going to be someone or people that just like, I'm not into Bitcoin. And you said before, that you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve, but you also only buy Bitcoin if you need to know about Bitcoin. I've got friends who have, one guy's got about 50 to 100 properties, completely fine. He'd be in his 60s. He just doesn't need to know about Bitcoin, right? He's got so much wealth that he's not concerned about Bitcoin. And I think that's actually just on a point of that, that's interesting because a lot of even billionaires right now, not every billionaire in the world has Bitcoin. And when they wake up to the fact that I should be getting Bitcoin, it's going to be swallowed up so quick because they're not going to care about the price. They're just going to buy it up because I just want to have some. Even though I don't even need it, I can just have some allocation to it now.
That's
right?
it, yeah.
Even BlackRock's talking now about up to, I think it was 5% allocation, which would put them at, which Larry Fink just even said it would put the price up to about $700,000, even if they just did that, which is totally insane. I'm also going through this phase too now where I have much like yourself, I had a e-commerce business. I've still got the e-commerce business, and I keep thinking about, do I want to now buy another e-commerce business to generate cash flow, right? And to be clear for everyone who's listening, the Bitcoin's not generating any cash flow. But I don't really want to do the work, because I know, I know
Time, right?
Yeah, I know how much time and effort is going to take to even just like test a new product, right? Or even if I was to buy an existing business, which is probably what I would do now, I probably wouldn't start from scratch. I'd probably just find one that was already existing and just buy that. But then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to put money into that. Well, and it's still not even a guarantee that it's going to do the sales it even was doing last year. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to put that same money into just Bitcoin and then actually just kick back, right? And not really worry about it. I have the same conversation now with my wife about the Hungry Jack's restaurant. I'm like, babe, when are we going to sell this store?
Yeah.
But here's something that it has come up as well, which is, what else do you do? And I think particularly for my wife, whose identity is very much fixed on, I'm a businesswoman and this is what I do, and you remove that, now what do you do, right? Do you have these similar thoughts about offloading your existing business, selling it?
I was just thinking about this last week because I was like, it's going to be harder for me to say, let's put the house on the market, than it will be for me to sell the other business. So yeah,
Here's the question though. If you had the opportunity today, would you sell your business and buy Bitcoin?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an easy one then.
Yeah. But look, I'm not the sort of guy that's, wants to sit on the beach drinking margaritas and just relaxing. That I cannot fathom that. Like I got to do stuff. I can't struggle to sit down and watch a movie because I'm just like, I'm wasting time. So I do want to do things. I think it's just about, well, what do you want to do?
So what drives you now then to keep the businesses?
So, well, for the customers, that is the cash flow. So that is my money pool for the Bitcoin investment primarily.
Yeah.
The Fired Up is, I love what I do in that business. Like I'm helping other small businesses or companies like grow and scale, and that's great. And then it's also talking to them, like it's the holistic thing to go, now that you have doubled your revenue or now that you're getting net profit into the bank that you weren't, now start putting that into the future. Like you need to start investing that, because whatever the business is, it's like at some point, whether it's your choice or someone else's choice, it's going to end. The business will disappear, the business won't survive, or you'll sell it, or something will happen. But for them to think that, hey, I'll have this business for the rest of my life, it's like, can you be sure of that?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So again, it just comes back to that peace of mind.
But also I think purpose in life, right? If your purpose right now is to help people and that's what gives you satisfaction in life, yeah, which clearly it does, then you're going to keep that business. Yeah. Probably even if you were to halve the profit, you'd be like, I just love this.
Yeah.
I think the struggle at the moment is when you have a business that is just a business where there's no real passion, it's just sort of just bringing in sort of cash flow. You think, how much longer do I want to do this for?
Yeah.
And keep stacking.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to people who will be starting out brand new into the Bitcoin space?
Get started. Like hurry up. That's the first thing. Then second thing, this is what I'd be saying to my friends as well. Just dollar cost average. Like stop looking at the price, stop looking for dips, stop waiting for peaks. It just doesn't matter. You need to be taking whatever you can and putting it across into this asset. Then I think where a lot of newbies come unstuck is leaving it on an exchange. So the cold wallet and the cold storage is a must. So if it's not your wallet, it's not your money. People just need to go and Google FTX or something else like that to see how a lot of people come unstuck with that situation. So yeah, buy it and then get it cold storage. Have cold storage and have a bunch of security layers in place. For me, I've got the biometrics, the 2-factor, the ledger.
You have to give blood.
Got to give blood. I can't wait for when they do that. Like, prick, yep, it's you. So yeah, I mean, get educated. I was shitting myself when I got the ledger, the first time. Spent, however long it was setting that up. It was complicated, man. And once you start moving big lumps, like your heart's pounding out your chest because you click send and it's not there.
Yeah.
Refresh, it's not there. You're like, I've been done.
I've gone to the extreme. I have a separate laptop only for crypto. I have encrypted browser, encrypted email, and I have then, obviously I use cold storage. So I've mentioned the node. I then have some other devices which I keep, so like Solana or things like that, because the nodes are only for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's just a Bitcoin node. I'll use a ledger. So I know what you're talking about, where it's like complicated to set up. Have you used a Trezor before?
No.
Trezor's way easier, but I'm not sure if they do altcoins. I'd have to double check. I know they do for Bitcoin. I have used, because before I had my own setup, I had the Trezor. And that much easier than a ledger, right? So maybe check that out.
Yeah.
But then it's like I've got where I keep my seed phrases, which is then stamped, which is then in like a fireproof bag. It's just like, and then I've got other ones where I've got my parents' safe, and I've gone to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so important, because what people forget is they look at what they've got today and they say, oh, well, it's only $5,000 or it's $10,000. I'm like, what is that going to be worth in 20 years? If you lose that today, what is the opportunity cost?
Yeah.
Yeah. But people, they're apathetic as well, or they're a bit sort of blasé. Like, I think they sort of think it's a bit like the banks, right? If you have your money in a bank, no one really wakes up in the morning and thinks, I don't know if I'm going to have my money in my bank today in the Commonwealth Bank. Are they going to steal it? We don't think that. We just expect it's going to be there. And so I think to a degree that's how they think exchanges are. They think, oh, if I just leave it on the exchange, everything will be great. It's not until you've gone through like what you've had in your life cycle is you've seen the FTXs and the list of other exchanges that have gone down and people have lost a ton of money.
We've also seen banks fail, right? We've seen people with banks go down and they're like, where's my freaking money?
But not in Australia.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they need to look abroad.
But they don't.
But why not?
They just think everything will be cruisy. Everything's easy and, the government's going to bail me out. I mean, you're a business owner. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
And how other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah, won't come in they won't do an extra hour shift. Oh no, because why would I do that? I'm going to get paid from, I've got literally, I know of staff who don't do extra hours because I'd lose money from settling.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's how they live. Yeah, and then they wonder why they're not getting ahead, why they don't have any money. And I think to a degree, Ben, I'm sidetracking here, but it's back down to the education system. Like we mentioned before that. In Indonesia, they're getting taught about Bitcoin. Australia's not having that in Australia.
Yeah.
It's not in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why are they teaching people about self-managed super or just stocks and shares? They just want to keep people dumbed down.
In the system.
And enslaved into the matrix system.
Yep.
Ben, look, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us about your crypto journey.
Mate, thank you for having me on. Love what you're doing. Keep, spreading the message. I think people need to be well aware of what the future looks like and how they can play a part of it.
We'll keep orange pilling together.
That's it, man. Yep, Bitcoin activists all the way.
All right, take care. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Crypto Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. You can also find more of me at I'm Matthew Fraser on all social media platforms.